This video today I'm going to compare the MCU to Disney live-action remakes. To be clear, Disney live-action remakes is a different kind of franchise when compared to Star Wars, Star Trek, MCU, DCEU, but I would still argue it's a category of films where you have Disney putting out a live-action movie that is in some way based on an animated movie. The only exception to this is the Pete's Dragon movie from 2016, because it's actually a remake of the 1977 movie Pete's Dragon, which is actually live action with an animated dragon in it. Some of these movies are direct remakes of a previous animated film: Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Cinderella, Aladdin, Jungle Book. But then you have like the 1994 Jungle Book movie, which isn't a direct remake of the Disney animated Jungle Book. It's really a different version of that story, whereas the 2016 version, directed by Jon Favreau, is absolutely a direct remake of Disney animated Jungle Book. You have Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is something different because it's a very loose remake. Honestly, you could absolutely debate whether that movie should even be counted or not, because it literally takes just one segment from Fantasia and then builds an entirely different story around that. Also, you have Christopher Robin, which isn't a direct remake of a single animated movie. It serves as a reimagining of the Winnie the Pooh story with Christopher Robin grown up Hook style. When you look at Cruella, that isn't a direct remake of 101 Dalmatians. It's a different story about the villain Cruella. You have Maleficent and Maleficent 2, which aren't direct remakes of Sleeping Beauty, but rather a different story that's about Maleficent. First of all, when you look at highest Rotten Tomatoes score for each franchise, in the case of the MCU, the first Black Panther has the highest score of 96%. When you look at Disney live-action remakes, 2016 Jungle Book has the highest score of 94%. So by just 2%, MCU wins this round. Then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, in the case of Disney live-action remakes, Pinocchio has the lowest score of only 28%, whereas if the MCU, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has the lowest score of 46%. Also, when you look at this, more MCU projects are fresh than rotten, whereas with Disney live-action remakes, more of them are rotten, less of them are fresh. Actually, right now of the MCU, only 2 of their movies are rotten: Eternals and Ant-Man Free. All the other movies are fresh. Even the Marvel's Thor: Love and Thunder are still fresh, though admittedly barely. MCU wins this round. Then when you look at average score for each franchise, in the case of the MCU, you have an average of 80, whereas if Disney live-action remakes, only an average of 59. MCU wins again. Then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, in the case of MCU, highest score 96, lowest score 46, so gap of 50. With Disney live-action remakes, the lowest score is 28, highest score is 94, so that's a gap of 66, meaning MCU wins again. Now let's look at my personal opinion, and this is really easy for me, honestly. MCU is absolutely better. There are definitely issues now. I don't think it's as strong as it used to be, and basically everyone would agree with that as well. But I think the biggest thing that separates the MCU and Disney live-action remakes is this: the MCU had a great run. From Iron Man to Endgame, the Infinity Saga worked. Sure, there were some movies that are weaker. I don't think Iron Man 2 is a good movie. And then For the Dark World is not a disaster, but it's just really bland, generic, mediocre. It's not a movie I've rewatched anytime recently or have any desire to rewatch. And you have Captain Marvel, which I think is weaker, but still, in the Infinity Saga, you knew what we were building up to, so we were excited about the overarching story. By the time you get to the end credits of Iron Man 1, you know we're building toward the Avengers. That gets paid off at the end of Phase 1. And then when you get to Phase 3, it's really obvious we're building towards Thanos, the Infinity War. So again, there's excitement and momentum there. Whereas of Disney live action remakes, they never have had a great run like that. It's always been inconsistent, up and down. You've had some great ones, but then other ones that are not so good. Now, when it comes to the MCU, I think that the quality isn't as good as it used to be now. More of their projects just don't work anymore. I think that 411 Thunder was a big misfire because it just got way too comedic, just making Thor out to be such a dummy and also making Zeus out to be the biggest buffoon ever, turning into just flat out self parody. I think Doctor Strange 2 wasn't anywhere near as good as it should have been, and even people who enjoyed the film, I think, would agree with that. I mean, Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania was a big disappointment as the kickoff to Phase 5, introduction to the big villain Kane. It didn't build excitement the way it should have. Instead, it got people saying, maybe I'm done with Marvel. It's just not as good as it used to be. The Marvels was a big box office disappointment, lowest performing MCU film, and the reviews are really just okay at best. Now, of course, there have been good projects since Endgame. No one's going to dispute that. I would say Black Widow, for example, is a good but flawed movie. Should it have been the movie to kick off Phase 4? No, it should not have been. It feels very, very weird to have a movie that's set during Phase 3 prior to Endgame come out after Endgame, be about a character who was already dead. It just feels like we should have gotten this movie years ago. And as the kickoff to a new phase, it's not building to where we're heading in the future. It doesn't make it clear, where we're going moving forward. And then Guardians Volume 3 was a great end to the Guardians trilogy. I think Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is really good. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, an effective sequel to the first film that felt like a respectful tribute to both the character of T'Challa as well as the real person, Chadwick Boseman, who tragically passed away. I had a really fun time with Deadpool and Wolverine, saw it in theaters. I'm really glad I did because it's a highly entertaining movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, it has flaws. I think overall it's still really good because of how strong the payoff is. The setup is very weak and flimsy, a lot of problems there. But the movie was a great experience for Spider-Man fans, a great gift to Spider-Man fans. And when you look at the TV shows, there have been some good ones. Everyone would agree with that. Loki was absolutely a success. And I think that Hawkeye is a good show. I enjoy Moon Knight. I think it definitely had problems, but not the worst. And I think that Miss Marvel overall was good. I'm not a fan of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then there have been some more recent TV shows that have been pretty bad. She-Hulk, Secret Invasion. So people now don't trust the MCU the way they used to because the quality's just been not as consistent as it was before. Also, I think that the bigger problem really is that the franchise excitement and momentum that we had before is just not present any longer. Going back to what I was talking about with the Infinity Saga, how it was clearly building to something. Right now, it's not clear what we're actually building to. Think about this. In the first 7 movies of the MCU, Tony Stark was in 5 of them because he showed up in Iron Man 1, and then he's in post-credit scene of Incredible Hulk, then he's in Iron Man 2, and then he's in the Avengers, and then he's in Iron Man 3. So Tony was clearly a star of the franchise, and Captain America was clearly a star because he was in Captain America the First Avenger, and then he was in the Avengers, and then Captain America the Winter Soldier, and then Age of Ultron. Back during the Infinity Saga, when you were introduced to a character, you knew you would see them again soon. But that's not the case anymore. We don't know who the stars are. We don't actually know who the Avengers are. Also, think about this for a moment. Are we ever going to see Moon Knight again? Are we ever going to see any of the characters from that show or do anything more with this Egyptian mythology? We don't know. Are we going to see any of the characters from Eternals again. Yes, it's been said that Captain America 4 is going to bring up the celestial head in the ocean, but that's only one thing. Are we going to ever follow up on Arishem kidnapping half of the Eternals as we see at the end of that movie? Are we going to follow up on Doctor Strange trying to fix an incursion with this lady who apparently is named Clea? We don't know. Are we going to follow up on Hercules being sent by Zeus to go after Thor? We don't know. Are we going to follow up on the Young Avengers, which is teased in the post credits of the Marvels? We don't know. Also, we just did Deadpool and Wolverine, which has X-Men characters, yes, but it's not classic traditional X-Men, with Professor X being the teacher, Scott Summers, Cyclops being the leader, the X-Mansion. When are we going to do actual classic, proper X-Men? We know it's going to be coming at some point, but it's not clear right now when that's coming. Also, just think for a minute about how troubled the production has been for both Daredevil as well as Blade. It's like, man, there are clearly problems now. And also, when you look at the TV shows, it's like, what are we doing with She-Hulk here? Getting so goofy, so meta, it doesn't at all feel like this fits into the MCU or meshes well with the other content we've been getting. Also, while I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever is definitely a good movie, I'm impressed by how good it is considering how bad of a hand the filmmakers were dealt here, filming the movie during a pandemic, and they lost their big star Chadwick Boseman, who unexpectedly passed. But here's the thing, going back to the Infinity Saga, all those phases 1, 2, and 3, they ended with an Avengers movie. They ended with an ensemble film, a team up. Both Phase 4, Disney, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige broke tradition because that didn't end with a team up movie, an Avengers film. It just ended with a Black Panther movie. So it's pretty clear that people are not as interested in the MCU as they used to be. The hype we had previously just isn't there anymore. But there's a solid foundation with the MCU, however, because Iron Man did a great job of laying the foundation for a shared universe. With Disney live action remakes, there's been good ones, everyone would agree on that, but overall, it just seems to me like this is a really cynical corporate move on Disney's part where they're just playing it really safe because they know these movies make money. They're taking advantage of people's nostalgia. So it feels like overall this is just devoid of any kind of creative or artistic merit. Individual filmmakers who were putting out some of these movies, okay, they clearly actually care about the stories, yes, but it's pretty clear that Disney overall is just putting out these movies for the sake of making money. Now, I think that Aladdin, Cinderella, Jungle Book 2016 are great examples of how to do a live action remake right. I really enjoy Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book from 1994. It's a very interesting, different version of the story. I like the 1996 101 Dalmatians movie, which very much changes up the formula from this heist movie with talking dogs. That's the original film. This one is more like a Home Alone-esque slapstick comedy with talking dogs. And then I think that The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a good but not great movie. I really enjoyed Christopher Robin. But as I talked about in my video where I discussed the Lion King franchise, I don't think the Lion King live action movie works. I haven't seen Beauty and the Beast live action remake. It just doesn't interest me. Overall, there's 22 Disney live action remakes right now. I have actually seen most of them at this point. I have not seen Dumbo, Beauty and the Beast, or Maleficent 2, or 102 Dalmatians. So I've seen 18 out. Actually, I haven't seen the Alice in Wonderland movies from Tim Burton either. So there's 6 of these movies that I haven't seen. I've watched 16 of them. I actually saw Jungle Book 2016 in theaters with my mom. We both really enjoyed it. I watched Cruella for the first time yesterday. It was a very frustrating experience because there's good things about that movie for sure. It has a style to it. There's good acting, but no matter how well done the movie might be, there's this big problem looming over the whole movie, which is that I just don't like the central concept here because I can't root for a puppy killer. I'm not interested in getting Cruella's backstory, learning more about her. I'm not interested in seeing where she's coming from or in any way sympathizing with her. When you're talking about a character as rotten, despicable, and vile as Cruella, someone who's willing to kill and skin cute, innocent puppies, it's like you are absolutely someone I do not feel any shred of sympathy for. I do not care at all what sad things happened to you. You're just a monster. So I just don't think that Disney should have made a Cruella movie in the first place. Though, yeah, overall, I would definitely choose the MCU easily. I've seen more of these movies in theaters. That definitely helps. So I have more of an emotional connection to this franchise. But the difference is there's just more good stuff with the MCU. Even now, where we're more excited about individual projects than the franchise as a whole, there's still good things coming out. As flawed as the franchise might be at the moment, it's like, okay, yeah, some of these projects don't work, but I also am really excited for Guardians Volume 3. I didn't like Secret Invasion, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters. So that's the big difference. I'll be wrapping it up for this video today. Bye, everyone.